Okay? You know, I'm gonna continuously make videos about the same thing they do to me. This is things they do to me. I want to show the patterns of what they do, and immediately they try to scare me. They try to like intimidate me into accepting this. Oh, you're sick. Oh, they're gonna fist you away. Like all kind of nasty things they try to. They're using excuse me. They're using the different warnings of torture to get me to accept these things. Now, obviously, I know that they do the pedophilia type of torture. It's so nasty. If you see this picture on top of it, there you see a little girl kissing the. It's just very like wholesome, but of course, with me, it turns into some pedophilia things. These people are renowned to be doing pedophilia type of torture. That's what they do. The reason why I'm making the same videos over and over and over is because I'm trying to show that they have these patterns of doing these manipulations. Matter of fact, this picture, I took a screenshot yesterday because I was like, they can do these nasty things to these babies. So imagine the older kids. Right, these people are filled with pedophiles, right? You hear these entities filled with people raping children and doing these horrible things to babies. With me, they try to make me accept this. You know, at one point, they were trying to make me imagine that I felt like this when I was like in third grade, when I was 8, 9 years old. You see that picture over there on top? They tried to make me think that was you because they tried to bring me back to when I was 8 years old or 9 years old, 8 year run. And I remember there was like a 7-year-old kid that came to my place, and I remember feeling a little special thing when I was 8 years old. And they tried to make me imagine the same feeling, like, but toward this kid, but it was not the same thing. They were trying to make me think it was the same thing. No, you are making me imagine these things. You're making me feel these things. It's not me when I'm a kid, especially not me when I'm a third grader, like an 8-year-old. What the hell? It's what you're making me feel. And I look at the picture because they were making me imagine that moment when I was 8 years old and there was this 7-year-old kid. It was 7, 6 or something like that. 7-year-old or something like that, like a year or so, either younger than me or so. Try to give me like this, and then it's like, this is not. Then I'm looking at this place. No, you're making me experience this, and then try to talk about me as an 8-year-old and try to bring me back to when I had like a little thing for like a 7-year-old kid when I was like 8 years old. These people are disgusting. Because this is the things they do. They do nasty things to people. And this the pedophilia type of torture. Every time I look at a little baby, especially the little babies like that, it's the nastiest thing. And then they're like, you're sick. It's you. And they're like, nah, that's not real. We're not doing the pedophilia type of torture. Why do you think I do the same thing over and over? Every time I talk about what they do to me, I will bring the validations that I have. That they force men and women around the world to experience disgusting reaction toward children. That's what they've been doing to me. That's what they're going to continue to do to me. And they want me to be subscriptive to this. When in reality, these people are actual pedophiles. These people are supposed to make me subscribe that whatever I'm experiencing is naturally happening. While this trash not only do the pedophilia type of torture, you're going to hear what they do. Then you're going to find out that not only they do these things to people, they torture children. Not only that, the entities that are actually in charge of these things are filled with pedophiles that are raping CIA agents, doing things to 2-year-old and 6-year-old. Yeah. And there's a bunch of pedophiles in these agencies. And this trash are supposed to make me subscribe to these things. And then they're like, no, but in 8th grade you did this stuff. Oh, really? Do you know that this baby, this is a kid that you would torture this ways? I never thought this way. You are forcing me to think in these nasty ways. When you talk about me, an 8-year-old me, 9-year-old me, talk about me, when I was looking at the 7-year-old girl when I was 8 years old, and it's like, we're matching to that, it's that. And then tell me, no, we're going to feast you. We're going to feast you when you do these things. Or then just try to talk about me. Oh, but remember what you did in 8th grade? To try to find ways to make me accept what I'm experiencing. As if it's naturally happening. Or we mapped it. So nasty. I'd rather die in whatever hell I am than work in entities where there's a bunch of fucking pedophiles out here raping kids, and you out here trying to force grown men and women to experience nasty stimulations, and then tell them how they're gonna get feasted. What heaven are you in when you? They try to normalize these things, try to make it known. I know you rape and torture. Even children are being tortured sexually. sexually. This is what they do. Then they talk about you when as young as me as a third grader, a 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. Can you imagine? It's like we matched. It's like they're gonna fist all day. It's like, it's gonna hurt. It's like, all right, yeah. You know what? You know what's pain that's worse than that? Being in the fucking program, excuse my language, being in the program where they do these things to kids, they do these kind of things to people, to adults, where they are raping them till they kill themselves. Oh, and the entities, oh yeah, those entities, the top corner over there, yes, a bunch of pedophiles are working these entities. Well, with no shame, man. Downloading child porn on the government devices. People are even making fun. How are they even able to work? Well, this trash here is supposed to be investigating with you. We mapped it to you when you were trash. To all my target individuals, I'm never gonna let them live in fantasy. Let them find joy in my torture. This guy they torture in these horrible ways. He heard about this. He knew about this. He knew about this. And your trash ass thing, I'm gonna subscribe to that? What a horrible life to live. I know my life is gonna be painful, but at least it's not living a life where you have to cover up this, and this. Because these trash ass are making noise campaign. Because you're gonna go through your scripts and your petitions. I want to get fisted, like they say, whatever horrible. They're gonna create a theatrical of torture. This theatrical is meant to counter this. It's supposed to counter this. It's supposed to counter this, because this is involved in things that happen like this, like this. I'm talking about they torture women, they torture children, and they do the pedophilia type of torture. And guess what? These entities that have empowered them to think that it's their world, guess what? There are a bunch of pedophiles in these agencies. Well, they try to say, no, we match it to you when you were like a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old. Remember when you're 8 and remember that 7-year-old girl? This moment they were trying to use that moment. They say we matched it to that. What? It's crazy. And try to create this something similar and then I'm looking at like, this is crazy. You guys are delusional. Because they force people to have disgusting stimulation to babies. It's so nasty. And it's like, no, it worked. It's been working for decades. You've been doing the same thing to everybody. Or they try to be like these sensible individuals. It's trash. I know who's involved. You do that to women. What kind of insensible people are doing this to this woman? Or to this? No, you guys, you too sensible. It's trash. I will not let them escape. There's no tortures that's going to counter reality. There is a reason why this trash don't want to be seen. They used to be comical, try to agitate me. Oh my gosh, you're like, yeah, right. This is so comical. Oh, this over there? CIA agent raping children and all that. Oh, what a quinky ding. Using your child, this trash to try to make me subscribe to this. All saying the same thing I'm speaking about. Oh. It's awkward, huh? To all my target individual, even the people, these perps, sound like the people. Right now, I'm listening to this guy who's talking to me. He sounds like he's, I don't know, he sounds gay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But with my perps, they try to make it seem like they're just a bunch of cool people, like, like very sensible people. I'm like, remember, listen to this woman who talks about how they force her to get stimulation in this program perversion toward children, young people, children. So she's like, oh, these people, they're supposed to be this organization of goodness, I started cursing them and saying like some slur word for gay people, because some of them I guess are gay. They try to make it seem like they were decent people. This is the same stuff. And me, to the point where now they're trying to make me imagine that what you're experiencing now is what you felt when you were like in 3rd grade. Basically 8, 9 years old. Remember when you saw that 2nd grader or something when you were like in 3rd grade? It's trying to make me imagine. And like no, she was 2 years younger than you. I'm like, Jesus. And they're like, no. she's like, oh, these people, they're supposed to be this organization of goodness, you know. I started cursing them and saying like some slur word for gay people, because some of them I guess are gay. They try to make it seem like they were decent people. It's the same stuff. And me, they to the point where now they're trying to make me imagine that what you're experiencing now is what you felt when you were like in third grade, basically 8, 9 years old. Remember when you saw that second grader or something when you were like in third grade?
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. Like, it's disgusting. This take this whole thing into account so much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. Like, this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through
what I said. Playing with my dog. So that attacks continue. I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and home.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used To sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images in imagination. Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close.
The targets were forced to perform homosexual acts on each other against their will and religion in order not to be beaten or killed. This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa is true, that
happens. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent. I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my closed eyes. The nature of the torture I have been experiencing has been highly sexual in nature and highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me.
Occasion, I was told I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voice to skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female?
Oh, that's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally. Where are you?
Well, don't worry, Stephen. I think a few of them were fired.
Yeah, well, the rest that's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally, whatever the hell that.
Where do you think
the CIA?
That must mean there is such a lack of fearing any sort of accountability. For crying out loud, while on assignment, 1,400? You must have not been doing any job.
Well, even if you had to look at it to make sure you knew what it was, don't you just need to look at one?
Right.
You're like, I better check the other 1,399 just to be safe.
Yes, I better check the other 1,300 labeled tax things.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
And the guy with the 6-year-old? Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Twice with the 6-year-old.
Ugh. So and here's the scariest part. Out of the 10 instances that are described in the report, only one person was ever charged with anything.
Wow. Yeah.
With anything. Comment below. Do you guys know this story? This should be catnip for the media, right? Think about it. You've got this lewd behavior. You've got corruption at the highest levels of government, right? Aaron Brockovich, something about fake tits and tap water.
Yeah.
The CIA, raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of possible criminal misconduct committed by personnel seriously. So you're saying the reason why they didn't take this more seriously, why there weren't actual prosecutions that were carried out, is because what they were trying to not only protect their agency, but trying to protect the country from being compromised in some way by our foreign enemies who would use this information in some kind of bribery scheme?
I think that it's actually quite worse than that. In my personal opinion,
examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre. Remember, it's so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
When you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other than and I've heard all these stories. One guy to creating Manchurian candidates, split personality spies, and information couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt. And they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook.
So this is after you heard all these things, they just try to make me believe that what I'm experiencing right now with this baby is the way I would perceive her when I was actually older, when I was in 8th grade, right? And they bring up what the stupid thing I did as a child to myself. At that age, boys, we know that we have a moment where testosterone flowing, you discover yourself, so you do things to yourself all nonstop. And in one moment, something I did to myself like that. But I never had this perception they forced me to have. I didn't look at a child, even though I was a child, and felt like those stimulations. That's what they forced me to experience today. So this is after you heard all these things, they just try to make me believe that what I'm experiencing right now with this baby is the way I would perceive her when I was actually older, when I was in 8th grade, right? And they bring up what the stupid thing I did as a child to myself. At that age, boys, we know that we have a moment where testosterone flowing, you discover yourself, so you do things to yourself all nonstop. And in one moment, something I did to myself like that. But I never had this perception they forced me to have. I didn't look at a child, even though I was a child, and felt like those stimulations. That's what they forced me to experience today. And they manipulate my memory to experience that. Now, you heard all the horrible things they do to kids. Sexual torture, suffocations, burning them, doing all the horrible things that via direct energy and this technology that can do so much. Then you hear that they do the pedophilia type of torture, forcing you to experience pedophilia thoughts. This is the things they do. While they are here now, we mapped it to you when you're a kid. Listen to the CIA agents over there. 2-year-old, 6-year-old being messed with by CIA agents. This program is led by this intelligence community. CIA agent raping children in L? Yeah. Is it a coincidence? Well, they are here. We mapped it. It's you. We there when you were a kid was severe. Severe. You're severely torturing these babies. To tell me how I'm going to be tortured and raped. I'd rather get raped every day of my life than be involved in a program that severely do horrible things to babies. And they're like, you're going to severely die. It's like, I'd rather severely die than gently live the life that you live doing these things. I'll be involved in these programs. And then try to have to dumb yourself down. It's like, no, we're not doing the pedophilia type of torture. You just heard every the target, like all these target individuals talking about. So systematic that almost all target individuals are forced to see child porn in their mind. We're not doing that. We're not manipulating you. We're not manipulating your libido, your sexual arousal. We're not doing none of that. We're not aiming it toward children. We mapped it to you when you were a kid. And we're not manipulating your memories as a child. We mapped. It's you when you're a kid. It's not us doing the pedophilia type of torture that you hear that. No, we won't do that. We're different. It's humiliating because they are manipulating my thoughts to have these disturbing pedophilia thoughts toward children. Just like Mariana, that woman that you heard, talking about what she saw about her children, the children she was teaching. Just like this transgender woman who say that they're forcing her to think in these disturbing ways. Just like this mother in Florida who said that they start doing this program of perversion and start aiming toward young people and children. Just like you heard this survey saying that almost all target individuals are forced to see child porn in their mind. Just like you heard this person who said like this technology can manipulate you sexually, create sexual arousals. Where do you think they're gonna aim it toward? These people who do the pedophilia type of torture. Oh, the same entities who are in charge of that, you're going to hear that, obviously. We know who's really involved. Intelligence community is for sure involved in this program. For sure. This is... And you fully understand the fingerprint of the CIA is fully in there. This facade. Oh, there's a lot of women involved in this. Oh, this is this trash I see here. Try to play the mothers, the great mothers. Oh, we have children. We wouldn't do that. Yes, you do that. It's so nasty that you're willing to show your children so they can manipulate people to experience these nasty things. So when I see a child, this trash, this bottom feeders that can manipulate my brain, would make me experience some kind of reaction that's pedophilia-centric. And say, no, we mapped it to you when you're a kid in 8th grade. Or no, when you're 9 years old or 8 years old. It's you. I'm in my mid-30s, by the way. It's like, no, we're just being very severe. Remember what you did as a kid. Remember that? It's like, yeah, I know how severe you are. You're so severe you torture babies. You just heard a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. You see that baby that you see in this picture that they stimulate me to have this experience. They will torture kids like that. And you know, that moment she's kissing the glasses with kids, very wholesome. This is like wholesome as hell. I will watch this thing in a heartbeat. But what they try to do is like, but remember what you did. They always have to exaggerate what I did as a child, and they try to make me imagine like a moment where something happened with this kissing. I was like, ugh, you just stop. You're so disgusting. You try to make me imagine to the point while I'm having sexual moment with a woman, she does things to try to create that memory in that moment. Try to manipulate that memories. That's how nasty it is. But they're pedophiles for doing this, for involving themselves in this. They do horrible things to kids. And they want you to accept these things, to these pedophile things they've been forcing you to experience. And they try to tell you, no, it's you, we match it to you as a child, us who do the pedophilia type of torture. Because they do the pedophilia type of torture. They hurt children sexually. They do horrible things to them. And the entities that empower them are filled with pedophiles that rape children. So when they tell me I'm going to get fisted, my eyes go, it's just a way to just stop me from speaking about what they do to children and women. How much pedophilia there's an issue of pedophilia in these agencies. Well, going through the scripts that the CIA agents have told them to confuse me, disorient me. Oh, then now we mapped it. Basically, we're matching to you as a kid. But trying to use a lingo that's kind of trying to make it subscriptive to whatever they do. They don't map it. They try to make you feel like what you feel today, as if it's something you felt as a child. You understand how a child is on the spectrum it is? It's part of the disorientation because it's obvious. It's a linear correlation that they do the pedophilia type of torture. And so when they try to make you believe this, no, we mapped it to you as a kid, us who do the pedophilia type of torture, how are you supposed to look at it again? As a bunch of trash try to create a false reality. Because does it even make sense? You're an adult man or woman, and they're saying that what we're doing is we're making you think the way you would think if you were a child. Us who do the pedophilia type of torture. Us working for entities where the CIA agent doing nasty things to children. Us who torture children severely. You gotta be strong. Because these people will even manipulate your memory as a child to make you experience what you're experiencing today. And for me, then they talk about, but remember that moment, that stupid thing you did as a kid? Yeah. Well, you pay for that. That's that. As who torture children and do all these things. As who have to even exaggerate what you did as a kid. And when I say did, I say singular because it just happened just one time as a kid can do these stupid things. I understand. They have nothing to hold on to, so they have to create. Well, I'm here listening to all the validation I have. So for me, I have no problem to say the same thing a million times, and they can tell me how I'm gonna be raped, how I'm gonna be fisted, how I'm gonna be, my eyes gonna be, because they're in a program that does these horrible things to babies. They fill with pedophiles. They torture women sexually. They do all these horrible things. So to all my target individual, look at who these low lives are. They will torture this baby in these sexual ways that you heard. I'd rather get raped every day of my life.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting. Take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.